Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to New Earth Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Che, and today I have the wonderful Dhyan Ji with me. Welcome, Dhyan.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for having me on here. And hi to everyone who's watching.
So, Dhyan, I have to be honest. I feel really grateful that it's you on today because I'm actually feeling a little bit vulnerable. I've lost three family members in the last year, and the last one was just before the new year. And I'm actually going to be going over to the UK for a funeral in a couple of days. And it's really brought up in me a lot of kind of letting go, grief and letting go. And I know you hold such a beautiful space of awareness, of presence, of love. I know what you want to talk about today is awakening to love and your own awakening process. And that letting go, when we have challenges in our lives, when unexpected things happen, seems to me to be very much part of the awakening process and very much what a lot of people are going through at the moment. It's really is a time, 2023 and 2024, of beginnings and endings. So would you like to just start by talking about times where you've had to let go in a very deep way and how that's aided your awakening?
Absolutely. So I have had quite a few times in my life when I've had to let go of everything. And I'm recognizing, talking about this, there's a bit of a pattern. In the 80s, when I was 7, essentially, I went to live in Rajneeshpuram in Oregon, in America, with my family at the time. We left our home, we left schools, we left our friends, we left our life in the UK and went to live for 3.5 months in America, and 3 of those months were in Rajneeshpuram, in Osho's commune. So that meant that was really my first letting go. But I think as a child, you don't look at that in the same way as you do as you get older, of course. Why would you? So that was going from a life in a small village with friends and family around and a kind of routine to going and living in the Oregon desert, being very much more on my own as a child and exploring the land there, the river, the buildings, the whole of the community, but really being sort of going from a family unit that was together in one home to being in a place with hundreds, if not thousands, I think more thousands of people in the middle of the Oregon desert. So that was a huge change for me, but not one that I'd really considered until now, in actual fact. And then when my son was 18 months, me and my ex split up and I moved away with nothing. I didn't know where I was going to go. I spent time with friends, with my sisters, went to various places trying to figure out where I needed to be. And then I ended up settling back in Staffordshire, in Stoke-on-Trent, of all places, which is where I originally was based anyway. And from that, it kind of basically through that breakup, it really broke my heart and opened my heart up in a way that I never really knew was possible. So because I thought I'd met the partner that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Looking back now, I can see that was not going to happen, but it felt that way for me at the time. And in that breakup, there was a kind of breakdown and a breakthrough. And that was my heart just broke into so many pieces because the pain was so intense. And I know it was pain from other things that had happened in my life, but it was very much brought up through that process of letting go. And we had a home, I was looking after my son, and things were okay. But mentally and emotionally, I wasn't in a good place. I was very much in my head. I guess I was quite depressed. I was very fearful in some ways. And this relationship just kind of went from that breakdown and the hurt and the pain from the ending of that into a kind of abusive situation, because I think because I was so broken and wanting to hold on to something, to someone in actual fact, and what I thought was my dream of my life, you know, what I thought was my happily ever after, I guess. And yeah, it turned abusive, and mentally and emotionally, I was often in my head. We'd be arguing. If we weren't arguing when we saw each other, we'd be arguing on the phone. And it was just awful, really. It was just horrible. And I felt like I was losing myself. All of my, any confidence that I had, any, just any kind of self-worth and self-love, actually. And bringing up my son, and, you know, being put down and told this, that, and the other. And it just got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. I don't want to live like this. I'm in my head. There was some kind of awareness of, you know, this doesn't have to go on. There was this realization within me that there was something more. And I went upstairs on this particular day, got on my hands and knees, put my hands together, and I just said, God, please show me another way. I know there's another way to live. And, you know, please show me what that is. I'm ready. And without realizing, I just fully surrendered. I just surrendered to everything. And it wasn't a conscious surrender. It was just a very natural, intuitive, that's it. I've had enough. I can't deal with anymore. You know, I'm here. Just help me. And within a few hours, I would say, I was thrust into this space of bliss.
Wow.
Which might sound, yeah, it was incredible. And my mind went from being full of all this stuff to nothing, to just,
how powerful.
Yeah, really beautiful. And I was so aware of this that I was like, what's happened to me? And I was like, I don't want to hold on to this because it could go. If I try and hold on to it, it might leave me. But if I don't hold on to it, then what happens? And so I found myself just in the middle. I can't really explain this very well. In the middle of not holding on and not pushing it away, and being with it, just being, simply being with this bliss and letting it permeate everything. And it brought in more meditation, and it brought through me an idea to create events, which I went on to create, and they helped a lot of people. And so I was in this space of bliss for 12 months, and I thought there was nothing else could possibly happen. That's it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy compared to where I was at before. This is just amazing. But one thing I did find tricky sometimes was having conversations with people, because my mind couldn't kind of grasp things and didn't really want to think about anything either. I was just so much in this, oh, everything's perfect kind of feeling, which was so lovely. And I know it was such a blessing for that to happen and for that realization. And then, so in 2013, And again, you know, I never imagined there was anything else, anything more than that. That to me was everything. And I was organizing more of my events, and I was talking to one of the people that was going to come and work at my event, and we had a Skype call. At the time it was Skype. Back then, it's a while ago now. And my whole life changed in those moments. In the conversation, we fell into the space between words, and we were just giggling about everything. And then when I closed the laptop, I didn't realize all my whole life had just changed. Everything had shifted. My perception of everything was in the process of just shifting completely. And I went to pick up my cup of tea off the side. I was in my room at the time, my old house now, and I was sitting on my bed, and I went to get my tea, and I picked up my cup of tea, and there was no separation between me and the cup and the tea, and I was just looking at in my cup like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening? And I started to wonder if there was something in the tea. As you would, I mean. So, and it felt like the universe was just in this cup, and I just kind of disappeared into it for a little while, and then I remember looking up and looking in the mirror that was on my dressing table, and I saw myself looking at myself from outside my body. So it was like I was having all these like realizations were just dropping in one by one, but it was all very fast. And then I was like, okay, so what? And then I stood up, and all the walls in my room just started going woo, woo, like almost like the Matrix, I guess. That's the best thing I can describe it as. And what turning into waves of energy, and then woof, everything just went. And I was just in this space of pure nothingness, pure awareness, and saw very clearly that there was no me. There was no me. There was no Dhyan or any of my other names over the years. There was nothing of me there. There was also nobody else there. There wasn't any spirits. There wasn't any, there wasn't anybody else with me in that space. Everything had disappeared. It was just incredible, and the most transformational experience that I've ever had and probably would ever have. And I felt so much gratitude in my heart and my being. I just felt so grateful, tears of joy, tears. And the recognition that there was no death, because I very clearly saw that when the body drops, there isn't an end. There's just a continuation, but it's not an individual. It's everything. It's just energy, consciousness, everythingness, nothingness. There's so many words we can use. And I just began to laugh, and somewhere in all of this, my mum was supposed to be, I was supposed to be going and driving to my mum's, and she phoned me. I think it was after I'd picked my cup up, and I just said, I can't drive. Literally, I don't know right now how I could drive anything. I've got the part of my brain that would be able to drive has vanished. So,
did you find that you were able to function in the world after that, or was it tricky for a while?
It was tricky, yeah. There was a bit more to that, in that I then walked downstairs, but I don't have any concept of walking. It was like I just floated downstairs, And then I just felt hungry at one point, and there happened to be an apple in my bag. But when I pulled out this apple, it was just glowing. It was just so beautiful and looked like a mini universe that I couldn't eat it. I just stared at it in wonder, for a better word. And then I went out with my mum. I think we went round a well-known high street chemist, and I just laughed all the way around. And my mum was fine with all of this. She didn't mind. And then there was a point in the car where I then saw the mind kind of come back, but it was like, now I'm aware of it. Now I know it's not what I am, right? It's here, but it's not what I am, and I can see it. And that was really interesting. That led me to being able to see other people's minds and how they were stuck in the stories and in the mind. Really interesting.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. That's incredibly powerful. I'm really keen to touch on how all these experiences can, because I know that your work is service work. I know that you're very much called here to help create new earth and build a better future for us all. And I'm really curious to see your insights into how these experiences can perhaps help other people's understanding. You spoke earlier about this breaking down to break through. And I know, talking from personal experience as well, often these very intense experiences do act as catalysts. You know, it's when all those coping mechanisms that we perhaps relied on our whole life break down because they just don't function in that new vibration or whatever it is, that we have to kind of find new ways of being. And this is very much what people are going through at the moment, because the systems, the structures in the world that we've looked to are starting to break down. And that's starting kind of internal processes within people, which can perhaps be quite frightening or overwhelming. Do you have any insights or advice at all?
Yeah, I think this is such a powerful conversation, something that is a representation of what is happening with humanity, which is the awakening that's shifting just everything and everyone, because it's the most important part of our evolution, I believe, from my own experience, because it transforms the way that we not only think about ourselves, but it transforms the way that we look at everything and the way that we connect with ourselves and with everyone as one. So if you are going through a breakdown, whether it's emotional, whether it's a physical, leaving of your home or relationships, then I think the most important thing is to keep going. And no matter how difficult it might seem, the universe is literally creating something new that you can't see yet, but it's going to become available for you to see it at the right point. And I think it's not to lose sight of that fact that life is always expanding. And in this awakening journey, because life is always expanding, because that's what energy does, is it expands, we can't remain the same. We have to keep evolving. We have to keep changing. Life has to keep changing. Our experiences have to grow. We have to grow. Nothing can stay static. And be sure that if your life has remained the same for a long time, there is going to be a change coming. And sometimes that can be the most drastic change to get you out of that and where you need to be, with who you need to be, in the way that you need to be. So, I mean, I feel that sitting on my floor a year or so ago, with all the boxes and everything left. Everything had gone out of my house. My plants I'd given away to all the neighbours. I didn't even know the neighbours, but they all had my plants. And it might sound ridiculous, but that was the thing that hurt me the most, was giving away all my plants. And I sat on the floor with what was left of my life and cried and just felt like, don't give me anything else to deal with right now, because I'm really at the end of my capacity to deal with anything. But what also came through in those moments was, this is where the new starts. It's like, what is there for me if I have to lose all of this to experience that? And I think if you can hold on to that seed of growth, of hope, not even that keen on the word hope really, but if you hold on to just the trust and knowing that life is working for you, for your growth, for your expansion, for what you need next, I think that's going to really, that's really going to help.
I think that's really important, that idea that life is working for us, even if it doesn't feel like it, when we're going through difficult things. And I sense that a lot of people, particularly this time of year, when there's not much light, have come to that place, where that you're talking about of overwhelm, of please don't give me anything else to deal with, because things are moving very quickly as we move into 2024. So there's an acceleration, and there is a sense of almost like there's no place to go other than to surrender to it. But your suggestion is to kind of keep going as well. So that's more, it's that balance, isn't it, between surrender and keeping that positive mental kind of approach to what's coming our way at the same time.
Yeah, I feel that it's a surrendering into trust. So it's like, a good question to ask yourself is, how has life looked after me so far? It's like recognizing, how has life helped me? How has the universe, if you want to put it that way, or God, which I like to use, how has God helped me so far in my life? And then it's remembering that is a continuation. It doesn't just end. So how things look to us with our physical eyes are not always the reality that we're experiencing. It's like when I had that awakening, everything from my physical eyes was taken away in order for me to see that there is no beginning, there's no end, there's no death, there's no mind, there's no identification. But we're held in this grace. And anyone who's struggling in their life in any way, and I can speak from experience, I'm not speaking from everything's all been great, I'm speaking from really being in the nitty-gritty, down on my knees. So I know, and know that you are held in grace.
That's beautiful. I love that, being held in grace. And I do feel it is at these times that we really come to feel that. I've been through my own sort of dark nights of the soul with losses, very sudden losses. My fiance and baby when I was in my 20s, very suddenly. And similar processes really of just really having nowhere else to go, just needing to surrender. So it's this being held in the arms of grace. But I'd also like to talk to the vulnerability, because for me that's part of the surrender. It's getting okay with being vulnerable. I know we spoke before and I said I want to bring this loss into the podcast because I'm actually feeling a little bit vulnerable. And usually when things show up for me at a certain time when I'm just about to do a podcast, it's for a reason. you know, it's there's something that's meant to come through around that, because everything is so interlinked, you know, there's no separation. So it feels like the vulnerability piece is a real key as well.
Yeah. For many years, as a youngster, I guess, and into my 20s and 30s, I struggled to express myself. I know why that is now. It's due to different things that I deal with on a daily basis. We can label it, I hate labels, but for the purpose of people understanding this a bit more, I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was young, and I was also spelling, and which is part of that, and misunderstanding things, and as I've got a bit older, it's become clear that I've got a bit of ADHD, how that manifests in people in different ways, and so I'd have this difficulty in expressing myself. So what has happened is I've really gone into the depths of that over the last few years and looked at how can I express myself more? How can I say what I really mean? And it's been a great practice for me. And I've written a lot on social media, as any of you that might follow me or know me will know. I've written hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of writing now, and had some published. But the main point of this is learning to express from the depths of truth. And so I've put things out there that a lot of people have kind of cringed at and been like, oh, I can't believe you've said that, or you've written that. But what are we doing if we're not being honest and real and vulnerable with ourselves and everyone around us? I mean, what is the purpose of hiding parts of ourselves and not accepting parts of ourselves and not allowing others to see those parts either? It's like the more we accept, sorry,
I'm smiling to myself because I have this habit of like creating new words by combining words. And I'm often like sitting on a podcast when I've said something and I'm thinking, was that a real word I just said? Or was that a Sarah made up combination word?
Brilliant.
So, you know, but the thing is, I've got two choices. Either people accept my combination words and think that's pretty quirky, or I just don't do podcasts, because if I'm going to try and sort of get my vocabulary and all that stuff up to, you know, this kind of a sort of level, that's just not me. It's not where I operate from, for a start. And it wouldn't, I wouldn't feel, I'd be like thinking, am I, you know, it wouldn't be a healthy thing to do. I just have to accept that people can watch and comment how many made up words I put in a podcast.
I do that too sometimes, actually. It just reminded me. Yeah, so sharing from a vulnerable, and it's become a kind of buzzword sort of, I feel like social media is full of people trying to be vulnerable, whereas I feel that's always what I've been working on. So it's not being like, oh, I'm going to do this for any reason apart from I want to express who I am, what I'm sharing, what's coming through me, what happened to me this morning, or, you know, whenever. And speaking from a place of what it feels like in the body as well. And that's been a practice for me, is how does this really feel in my body right now? What am I really sharing here? Just a load of words, or emotions, or the physical experience of something?
Can you share
like
a little bit more
yeah.
about that embodied process? Because I know that you have a really strong spiritual practice, you know, going back to your days with Osh in, you know, Osh's commune. It was the start of your meditation, and then you got involved in mantra, and is it Deva, Premal and Miten, wasn't it? You would kind of have a connection. Can you perhaps talk a little bit about how your spiritual practice has evolved and it helps anchor you in your physical body?
Yeah, so when I was 7 and we went to live in Rajneeshpuram in Oregon, that's when my meditation practice started. I was an unusual child. I was very inquisitive and I didn't follow. My mum was talking to me about this the other day. I didn't really follow what everyone else was doing. I was always in everything and looking at everything and trying to figure everything out. And so my spiritual practice started with the meditation in the halls in I think it was called Buddha Hall. It was this huge building that was built outside but had open sides to it as well. So hundreds of people would go and sit in there and meditate. It was just incredible. And then as I got older, like most people, I went through different phases. When I was a teenager, I actually began to meditate again. When I was living in Devon, I was very much brought back into that more spiritual side of myself. And there was time in my 20s when I didn't meditate at all and wasn't interested in it, and my life was just going in a totally different direction. And then after, I think really after the breakdown of my relationship and moving and leaving my partner, that really helped me to open up again to who I am, instead of being a part of a couple with my son as well, you know, a small family. It was like taking myself away from that meant that I had space to breathe and be myself and really figure out what that actually was again as well. So I began meditating again, and that's where I got the idea for the events. It came through my meditation, and I've been meditating for 41 years now, so it's a long time. And then also prayer came into my practice. So meditation, prayer, which I know a lot of people do, but I've been doing that a lot more. Affirmations, mantras. We were singing the Buddhist, I think they're Buddhist gachamis, when every morning when we were in the Osho commune, all the kids anyway, together, we would all do that. And we would also do a kind of, I guess like a posture, a yoga posture. We would all bend down and pray. And it was really beautiful. But again, I questioned everything. I'd sit there and I'd look around and go, what are you lot doing? But I was also, you know, I was also a part of it. So that was my introduction to mantra many, many years later, and lots of stories that I can't share now because we haven't got time. But my dad ended up managing Deva, Premal and Miten for 15 years because he was Miten's best mate, really, one of Miten's best mates. And so that came about, and that introduced me to the mantra side of things and the kirtan side of things. And then at the beginning of 2020, I actually managed a band called Trinari, and it always makes me laugh when I say this out loud because it's just so out there, but along with all the other out there things that I've done. And they were amazing, and I helped them to look at mantra in a different way because it wasn't what they were really focused on. And they became more focused on it because I just knew that they had the capacity to do the mantras justice. And so now they do a morning practice every day, and it's been going for the last 3 years as far as I'm aware, which is just incredible.
And I understand you'd like to do a meditation for the audience as well, for the viewers, just to really support the anchoring and processes that people are going through at the moment. Does it feel like a good time to sink into that?
Yeah, that feels, Okay, so what I feel I'm going to share is I don't have meditations that I teach as such. I teach meditation, and I also share processes for being able to go deeper within yourself. So I think that's what I'll share.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. So whoever's listening, wherever you are in the world right now, if you want to just breathe into your belly, and closing your eyes, and I'm going to close my eyes too. And first of all, I want you to notice how you feel, what's happening in the body, if there's any emotions, sensations, feelings. And just being aware of the body. And also becoming more aware of the breath, the in breath, the out breath. Breathing into your belly. Letting your whole body relax. Breathing into your belly. Letting your shoulders relax. Your belly relax. Your legs, your hands, your feet. Allowing your face, the muscles in your face to relax. Breathing easily and gently. And being really aware of the body, noticing how you're feeling, noticing any tension or expansion or emotion. Just allowing yourself to be here, present with the body. Breathing into your belly. Taking the breath down into the hips, into the pelvis. Feeling yourself grounded and rooted in life. Within yourself. And bringing your attention back to your breath now. Noticing the in-breath and the out-breath. Noticing your heartbeat. Feeling the sofa or chair that you're sitting on, or the floor beneath you. Taking a slightly deeper breath in now. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes, slowly opening your eyes, and just taking a look around the space that you're in, noticing the light, noticing how the body feels. And recognizing that that light that you see is the light that you are.
Thank you so much, Dhyan.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed being here with you. So
It's been
you.
beautiful. Thank you. You've been a wonderful guest. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish up? I will be putting your details underneath the video. So if anyone wants to get in contact with Dhyan, what are your last comments that you'd like to leave the viewers with?
Oh, mine's really quiet now. So I think one of the most important things that I could probably say is to keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't shrink yourself. Don't believe that you're not good enough. Really start to believe in yourself. Believe in who you are, why you're here. Let yourself be vulnerable. Be honest. Be real with those around you. Even if that means saying no to things when normally you would say yes. If that means leaving things and people and places behind. Do what feels really good for you in your soul and your heart, and spend time with yourself connecting to that inner intuition and guidance that we all have, because that is going to help you take the steps that you need to take in this physical experience of life. And I think aligning yourself in that way every day with your own practice, however that may evolve, is the most important thing that you can do for yourself, part of your self-care, part of your self-love every day. Make that space and fill it with the things that really help you align and center yourself, so that if there is a storm going on around you, you remain in your center and you can just allow those things to happen and watch them and not be as affected by them, because the world needs you centered in your own being, in your own truth, in your own love, The world needs your awakening love.
That's beautiful. So the world certainly does need that. Our awakening love. That's very much what we're moving into.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Dhyan, and thank you everyone that's listened in today. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Do let us know any comments in the comments, and do hit the subscribe button so you can receive more New Earth podcasts. Bye for now, everyone. Many blessings.